All I'm
That's
saying
what we said. There are people who didn't want it to happen at all. You sound like one of them. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Like, what is the alternative to not talking? Just sit at your lunch table?
Tyrus, now, what do you think? Maher said, liberals are not going to like this. I know they're going to come after me. And, of course, they did come after him.
I'm sorry. I don't know what y'all watched, but Bill Maher. I'm sorry.
Before Tyrus sent Bill Maher oversized confidence crashing out of sight, Maher liked to think of himself as sarcasm royalty. What followed, though, wasn't a quick quip or a clever retort, it was a full-scale reversal. In a moment that felt more like comic chaos than casual banter, Maher's smirk vanished almost instantly. Tyrus didn't just respond. He flipped the exchange into a masterclass in humor, using Maher's own style against him and leaving him with nowhere to land. If you've ever wondered what it looks like when Bill Maher gets completely outmatched, when you can almost feel the heat, this was that moment. Loud, fast, and impossible to ignore.
I'm sorry. This is like someone who talked about black people his whole life and then had dinner with one and said, actually, after I had dinner with them, they're not that bad, guys. No, you don't get to do that, you coward. You went on a show and you tried to play both sides of the street.
That's right.
Why? So maybe he could do your show? Because the 300,000 people that watch it, if we had those numbers here, I wouldn't be here. These dudes make me laugh. Cowards die 1,000 deaths.
At this point, Bill Maher's familiar grin after every uncomfortable joke feels less like self-assurance and more like muscle memory. It's as if he awarding himself top marks simply for taking the stage, grading his own material as it lands. He likes to present himself as a fearless teller of hard truths, yet it often comes off more like that overly confident relative at a family dinner, someone who mistakes volume and persistence for genuine honesty.
Yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes. And I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff.
That's where Tyrus steps in, saying out loud what everyone else in the room is already thinking. Bill Maher isn't breaking new ground, he coasting, recycling old bits and relying on the audience to be polite or distracted enough not to notice. Strip away the stage and the spotlight, and he starts to look less like a provocateur and more like someone on the sidelines, still calling for attention, still insisting he's the bold outsider. The irony is that the culture he claims to be challenging has already moved on, barely glancing back.
You said things about President Trump nonstop. You had no reference point. That's all you proved to me. You sit down with a man, you break bread with a man, then you come and say, well, on this night, he was okay. But don't be mad at me. Splitting hairs.
Now let's talk about how he delivers the jokes. Comedy no longer feels like something Bill Maher crafts. It feels like something he drags uphill, drops, and hopes gravity will finish. His pauses stretch on just a beat too long enough for the room to wonder if the punchline got lost along the way. Every setup carries that familiar weight, like he bracing for applause that hasn't decided whether to arrive. Instead of sharp timing, the jokes land in uneasy silence, each one quietly asking the audience to clap just so the moment can move on.
You know what this whole thing, everyone keeps acting like they need Bill Maher. The little guy who doesn't lift weights, 99% of the internet, what, MySpace? Come on, man. This dude represents nobody. A PR stunt for who? I'm sorry, I missed the Oval Office Rose Garden meeting where President Trump was talking about Bill Maher was there. Yeah. I missed that one.
Maher casts himself as the headmaster of an imaginary comedy classroom, lecturing the crowd with opinions so outdated they feel stamped with an expiration date. He swings at everyone, struts around as if he runs the whole operation, then seems genuinely puzzled when no one wants a seat at his so-called cool table. It isn't thoughtful balance, it comes off as someone trying just a little too hard to stay relevant.
He's talking about it. The president's not talking about it. He doesn't need Bill Maher. He's got 70% of the country cheering him on. He walked into UFC. The place went crazy.
Then why did he accept dinner with him if he didn't?
Because he's like everybody else.
No, why did Trump?
Because that's who Trump is. He will break bread with anyone. He will sit with Kim Jong-un and break bread. So little punk-ass Bill Maher coming to the house and sitting in the seat. And what did Trump did? He was gracious. He treated him. Everything that he had to leave and come back and go.
His fixation on being the last authentic comedian makes him look less like a defender of free expression and more like a relic from the late 90s that time forgot. The jokes feel dated, the pacing drags, and the interruptions never stop. The routine rarely changes. Welcome a guest, talk over them, and make sure everyone knows he believes he's the sharpest mind in the room.
Go, he wasn't any of the things I said because you were part of the machine. You were part of the thing. He wasn't as bad as Joe and Micah was where he's sharp as attack, but he led the charge. He continued to say things that weren't true. He supported things without ever bothering to say, hey, you know what? I want to sit down and when I have a problem with someone, if I had a problem with Johnny and me and him had a problem, I'd be like, we need to sit down and talk before I would go out on social media and talk about him, but he needs President Trump.
And I'd say, let
he
me have
needs
a
the
weapon
audience.
first.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know. But at this point, to coin one of the greatest, funniest phrases in all of comedy, I would ask Bill Maher to step in my office, and he would say, why? Because he's fired.
Clothes are just an outer layer, they don't define who we are or create sides. Remember the slacks generation, no statement, just what people wore. The strange part is when the same choice gets criticized while everyone else dresses the same way. In the end, it's never really about the clothes. It's about how they're used against you.
Look at the difference. You can just see the way we dress. We're not different people. This is like, you come from, the slacks generation. Like slacks were still a thing.
These are
no,
not
but slacks were a thing.
No, I look good. That's the difference. Is that you were
do
wearing?
Look good.
You're wearing
You're not
sneakers.
Gonna throw that in my face.
You got a t-shirt on.
You look like offended.
Bill Maher has built his reputation on a version of edgy comedy that carefully padded and largely risk-free. He talks about courage, yet keeps circling the same familiar jokes that never really go anywhere. He isn't pushing boundaries, he's clinging to them and hoping the audience applauds out of habit. That's exactly why Tyrus calling him out works so well. Maher leans on a laugh track in the comfort of an HBO set, while Tyrus cuts straight through the insulation. And honestly, that moment had enough force for a primetime spotlight even if HBO wouldn't have the nerve to let it happen.
Bill Maher finally got back on his show and told us what happened when he went to the White House and met with Donald Trump. I like Bill Maher and I like going on his show, but he definitely has been suffering from a case of the TDS. Once the TDS gets you, it's hard to come out from under it. But I see shoots of grass, mixing all sorts of metaphors. I think he's starting to come out from under it. And to his credit, he went there. It was brokered by Kid Rock. And to his credit, President Trump allowed it, welcomed this, and was very gracious to Bill Maher, who has been brutal.
Bill Maher treats every episode like a cultural intervention America. Listen up, Daddy Bill knows best. What follows are half-formed arguments, tired references, and monologues that sound lifted straight from an uncle's wine-fueled Facebook rants. Watching him scramble for relevance is almost funny. Applause becomes his lifeline, each clap propping up the illusion that he still commands the room's attention.
He wants, Democrats to fight. Now he's whining. Oh my gosh, she's talking like a podcaster. Like, do you know how many members of Congress I've talked to who actually cursed? I know preachers who curse. Shut the hell up, Bill Maher. Go smoke a blunt.
Tyrus' takedown of Maher lands less like a traditional roast and more like a public service announcement. Maher isn't some fearless truth-teller, he the cranky neighbor convinced he the main character in a story no one else is following. He clings to his politically incorrect glory days as if they were comedy moon landing, when in reality he just wrapped a show and settled comfortably into HBO paychecks. Some martyr indeed.
And old pal Bill Maher is at it again. He's got this, the TDS gets in his eyes sometimes and he says some wacky things, and here's one of them, SOT 23.
I don't know if I was the first one to use the phrase slow-moving coup. If there was a slow-moving coup.
And his whole cancel culture act pure performance. Maher acts like every line could end his career, yet he's been repeating the same rants for decades from one of TV's safest stages. His fallback relax, I'm only kidding lands more often as a lecture than a joke. The result isn't daring comedy, it's tired, self-satisfied, and about as appealing as a dusty bottle of expired cough syrup.
He can't smoke a blunt because he is an ass. He's a blunt himself. Listen, a blunt tool for stupidity. Bill Maher, to me, for a long time, has been anti-black. And I know a lot of people say they don't believe that. Bill Maher is racist as hell. This is just a reminder of that. The idea or the audacity of him to have a problem with Jasmine Crack, who is the most, who shows up to work more prepared than anybody in every fucking committee she sits on. No one is more prepared than this representative, and I know that.
Bill Maher's smugness is in a league of its own. He frames his panel show as the last bastion of free thought, but in reality, it's more like ego therapy. He cuts off guests, congratulates himself, and calls it discussion. Meanwhile, he scoffs at late-night hosts who openly embrace their roles as entertainers. Maher lectures on Gen Z and social media like he narrating a National Geographic special, and his smartphone tirades land like a grandpa yelling at the thermostat.
To his credit, somebody like Bill Maher, who took a shot and, not surprisingly, predicted doom and gloom, has come back to say the following. Listen to this on SOP 4.
I remember I, along with probably most people, were saying at the beginning, oh, you know, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then, by this time, and they...
Next comes his endless feud with religion. Bill Maher treats criticism like an Olympic sport, always straining for gold and condescension. Religulous wasn't an exploration. It was him mocking believers like a debate club dropout. Push back, and he acts persecuted, as if decades on HBO haven't handed him a megaphone. Only Maher could speak to millions for years and still claim he's being silenced.
Look at you trying to beat a drinking and driving charge. He doesn't have any priors, Your Honor. Look at him. He's wearing his Chelsea boots. He's a... And what do they call it? A productive member of society.
No one ever
All right, well, then Nepo baby. Your dad has a construction company, you take it over. Does somebody call him a Nepo baby? No, it just becomes, you know, Sanford and Son.
Yeah, but it's a little more pronounced when it's in the arts, because you have this...
I hate that word.
Why?
Pronounced.
Jesus Christ.
Because that's like a PED.
You know what?
You know what it was? That was like a PED for your...
Tyrus' message is simple and sharp. Bill Maher isn't a renegade. He a formulaic comic, rehashing edgy opinions that never leave the safety zone. He not at risk of being cancelled, he at risk of being ignored. And that what truly unnerves him. Beneath the smug delivery lies an aging performer, mistaking audience applause for insight and clinging to his platform as the illusion of risk and relevance quietly crumbles.